Welcome back. Here is part 2 of our activities we can offer you for helping you find your why. I hope you've started on the journey based on Simon Sinek's Find Your Why 3 steps. Now, having said that, maybe it's a bit tough for you to find a partner, and maybe you want this to be more of an independent journey for yourself. Well, that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a second activity you can do, and that is the fulfillment journal. Now, if it was up to me, you'd be doing both the Find Your Why 3 steps and the fulfillment journal to give yourself a wealth of information to process and craft into a powerful statement. But if not the Find Your Why 3 steps with a partner, which maybe is part of your hesitation, I strongly hope you consider doing the fulfillment journal. That's what we're going to cover with you today here, let you know how this works. It's a lot of self-reflection and pulling insights from journaling. So let's get started here. I have my own journal here. It's gotten some use. We're going to start, and I hope you get yourself a journal similar to this or some piece of paper you can refer back to or document. We're going to start the fulfillment journal with 7 questions. Now, under each one of these questions, leave space for 8 to 10 answers. I want you to answer each question with multiple answers, and that's going to make sense here shortly. Why do we do that? I don't want you to just give the quick 2 to 3 answers that come to your mind like that. I want you to apply more critical thinking here. We really dive deep into ourselves when we have to answer 8 to 10 reasons, answers for a question. And if we do that, we again are going to create more data, more information for us to work with as we're reflecting, reviewing, and coming up with themes to craft that purposeful statement. So what are these 7 questions? Well, let's refer to my journal here in my own notes. Question 1. What are your hobbies and interests? What are your hobbies and interests? You're going to answer 8 to 10 different hobbies and interests. Question 2. What little things bring you satisfaction? What little things bring you satisfaction? 8 to 10 answers. What does little things mean? I'm going to leave that up to some interpretation. Those small things that give you satisfaction and fulfillment. Right after that is, what big things give me satisfaction in life? Sort of the major components of life, the major experiences, little things you do, big things you do, I should say, that give you some satisfaction and sense of fulfillment. 8 to 10 of those. Next one. What are your passions? What are your passions? 8 to 10 of them. Let me pause here because there might be something going through your head. And you're right, there's going to be some overlap. These will overlap, and that's okay. But hopefully some of these different questions pull up slightly different things, because maybe your passions aren't always included in your hobbies and vice versa. The next one for you to write down is, what do I promote? / what am I an advocate for? When you're interacting with people, when you're expressing stuff, what are you advocating for? What are you all about? What do you care about? There's something telling there. What do you care about in life that has maybe a cause or belief behind it, more so than maybe just a hobby? 8 to 10 things that you promote or are an advocate for in life. What do I enjoy discussing? If it was up to you and you were sitting down with people and you could lead or dictate the conversation, what would the conversations entail? What are 8 to 10 things you enjoy engaging people about, to talk to people about? And lastly, the fulfillment journal lets you do a lot of self-reflection. This last question is going to ask you to go reach out to some other people. The last question is, what unique value do I provide to the people in my life? So a lot of this is internal reflection. This last one is some external feedback and reflection. You're going to want to go to 5 friends or family and ask them this question and ask them to give you 8 to 10 ways you are of value to them in their life. So those are the 7 questions to really answer in depth. So here's what's going to happen next. You're going to give yourself these answers. And for every answer you write down for each one of those 7 questions, you're going to do an exercise that can take some time, but it's pretty effective. Imagine a kid at that perfect age when they start doing the but why game. But why? But why? 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 You're going to do that for every single answer you've given. So for every answer you've given, draw some columns, because you're going to look at an answer. Like for me, for Connor, one of the things I enjoy, one of my passions are history. The question I ask myself is, why does that matter, Connor? And let's add to that. Here's a powerful addition to just asking, why does that matter, Connor? What is the number one thing about history that matters to you? This is powerful because you and another person might write something about history that they enjoy. And on the surface of it, you could say, oh, we're the same person. But if each of you have to answer, what's the number one reason history is a passion of yours, forcing you to get specific with your answer about why you like history, well, you might start to have your paths diverge. Someone might say, I love the lessons history's taught us. I love the warnings we can get from history that we can apply to today and not repeat previous mistakes. There are life lessons we can use to advance society. That might be someone's number one reason why history is part of their passions. The other person, they might say, I just love stories. I love all the stories of history, all the wild instances, all the moments that have occurred. They're just really entertaining to me, and I love that. I love the vivid stories that history has given us. On the surface, 2 people saying history is a passion of theirs, their number one reasons so different. And that's telling to who those people are and what their individual sense of purpose or why is in life. So that's why we play this game. Why is this thing important to me? Why is it a passion? What's the number one thing about it for me? So you're going to give that answer. And maybe for that history thing it is, I love the stories history's given us. Well, you write that down, and the next column over, you're going to repeat. You're going to say, why does that answer matter to me? Why does it matter to me that history is filled with all these stories? Why does that matter for me? Why? Well, you think on it, and if you were to ask me, and we are going down my personal path actually, I'd stop and say, well, stories are a gateway into different lives, different ways of doing things, different experiences, and I love experiences. I love going through life with diversity versus a routine. I love going through life with diversity versus a routine. That's my answer for history way over here on the surface. All right, me, next column. Why does that matter to you? Why do you matter? Or why do you matter? Why do you care about all these different experiences versus the routine? Okay, now it's getting tougher. Why does that matter for me? And after some thought, I went with, I believe a life well lived is one filled with diverse experiences to go learn what is going on out there other than where you've come from. Doing the same thing over and over is not a life well lived. Look at how far we've gone from history is a passion of mine to a belief about what life worthwhile is. Do you see that transformation when we start asking ourselves this why question? We make ourselves ask the number one reason, we go down that path of what's really going on here. And the harder it gets to answer those things, the more you're on the right track to a true sense of purpose and why behind your passions, your hobbies, those little things, those big things. Every single one of those answers, you can dig deep enough to get to some sort of belief. When you get philosophical, when you get to a point of beliefs about how you see the world, you are getting to some themes. And after you've done this for all of these different answers, and you look at this layer where you feel like you can't go any further, you don't know how to go past this answer. Now you're going to have all these different answers to look back on, and you're going to realize, wow, Connor, this whole life should be lived with diverse experiences thing has popped up in various answers for various things you wrote down. That means something. That is a theme worth noting and putting aside and working with. Now we've arrived at those themes to use to craft that why statement. Now rest assured, you're going to run into some answers that is very just human instinct. You might write down a hobby if you like eating. And why? What's the number one thing about that? Well, food tastes good. Well, why does that matter? Well, I don't know. You need to eat. Okay, that's just human. That's human function. So there is going to be a separation of, oh, this is basic, just human behavior versus this is something that's more uniquely me. And it's okay to filter those things out. You're going to arrive at some things where it's like, okay, this isn't really me. This is maybe just laughter is fun. It feels good to laugh. Okay. Sort those away from the nuggets, those powerful philosophical messages you arrive at once you ask yourself these questions over and over. And once again, we're back at it. Themes to craft a why statement. Almost 90% done with your own self-reflection. Here's your homework. Sit down right now and start answering those 7 questions. Give yourself those various answers based on who you are. Seek out 5 friends or family. Get their feedback. Give yourself the material to start digging into. We're going to talk about this down the road. We're going to bring this up again with future sessions. And I hope that's a good reminder for you to keep chasing this. It is a worthwhile pursuit. I cannot say that enough.